we'll be making cuts that will be permanent. And we're only going to cut Democrat programs. I hate to tell you. I guess that makes sense. But we're only cutting Democrat programs. We'll be cutting some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans.
Since the Trumper is looking for programs to eliminate, since the Trumper seems to be asking for suggestions as to which programs need to be eradicated, Uncle Casey has decided to provide Don Trump with some valuable free advice. First, let's go ahead and cut funding to every woke college and woke university across the country. Second, if woke governors like Governor Shamu in Illinois or whoever the hell the governor of Oregon is, if they don't want to cooperate, if they refuse to protect ICE agents, let's just go ahead and eliminate their federal funding. If you want to take it a step further, we could probably charge them with negligence or aiding and abetting. My third suggestion, and this is definitely not my final suggestion, but for the purposes of this video, my third suggestion for programs to eliminate, it would be a program on ABC LGBT called Jim Kimmel Live. For starters, there really is no reason for this late night dump to be on TV because no one is watching it. Looking at his recent ratings where he's lost 85% of his audience, it is abundantly clear that normal people have borrowed a phrase from Uncle KC and they have told Jim Kimmel to get off my TV. Another reason to get rid of this toxic turd, it has become prohibitively expensive to produce. The View, which is another toxic turd on ABC known for producing toxic mouth farts, and the incredibly powerful poopery-flavored Boodle Breeze from the Whoopee Cushion, it's estimated that The View cost ABC around $35 million a year to produce. Most of that $35 million is spent on toxic gas. As you guys know, ABC keeps the Yentas gas tanks full at all times. With the Trumper lowering gas prices, my inside sources, they are telling me that ABC is potentially saving $5 million annually on fuel flatulence. $35 million to produce The View against $55 million generated from advertising revenue. I know this might be hard to believe as well as depressing, but The View is generating $20 million in profit every year. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Jim Kimmel. Jim Kimmel Live, which is a weird name for a show that is always taped. A more accurate title would be Jim Kimmel Lies. But either way, his late night dump cost $120 million every year to produce. I would imagine that most of the expenses are salaries for his hardworking staffers. Jim has a team of writers who use crayons to write his nightly monologues. I'm not sure why it requires a team to write these polished turds. I write 3 monologues a day, and I'm not writing 4 days a week. Uncle KC is here 7 days a week. You know how many people are on my team helping me write monologues? You're looking at him. I am a team of 1. Jim Kimmel has a team of writers and his monologues are the drizzling shits. This is what happens when you have no political balance on your team. This is what happens when you lack diversity. You end up with monologues that alienate over half the country. You end up with comedic gems like this. Watch for yourself.
Mike Johnson, he said Republicans are praying it'll be a very short shutdown, which is good. That'll help. Prayer.
Oh, Jim, you are so brave. It takes so much courage to mock the Christians. You know, it's strange. I never hear Jim Kimmel make fun of the Muslims who are disrupting the community in the Islamic Republic of Dearborn by blasting a call to prayer 5 times a day. I never hear Jim making fun of Omar Elon or her brother that allegedly became her husband. I don't remember Jim making fun of deacons at Woke United Methodist when they were praying to their Lord and fallen King George Floyd. I wonder why. Recently, Jim Kimmel was speaking at a Bloomberg event. He was detailing the traumatic experience that he went through when he was temporarily fired by ABC. Jim was emotional. He choked up several times while reliving his trauma. You could hear men in the front row snoring while the Boodle-Breeze involuntarily escaped their dresses. Jim noticed that the crowd was becoming sedated, so he decided to try to grab their attention by talking about his future at ABC, or as the rest of us would call it, his future unemployment. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about Bad Bunny disrespecting America again. I thought Captain Doofus was terrified to be here in America, but somehow he managed to conquer his fear of freedom and attended the playoffs this week in Major League Baseball. He was given the opportunity to show his respect, his appreciation to the country that gave him the chance to become a millionaire. And instead of showing his respect, he chose to sit on his ass. If you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Headline at Deadline: Jimmy Kimmel does not want to talk about his late night future. Yeah, no shit. If I was about to be fired, hell, if I had already been fired for being a huge embarrassing failure, and I knew I was going to be fired again next year for the same reason, I wouldn't want to talk about it either. But the sudden silence from Jim Kimmel about his future, this is a new approach to the way that he usually negotiates his contracts, or as the IRS prefers to call it, woke welfare. Normally, when his contract is expiring, Jim Kimmel likes to pretend that he's going to retire. Oh, you know, I think I'm going to quit. I want to spend more time at home. My wife wants another baby, and it's my turn to get pregnant. If I become a male birthing person, I'm not going to have time to host a late night dump. I'll be cleaning up dumps instead. Normally, Jim Kimmel pleads for attention by faking his own retirement. Obviously, normal people ignore his pleas because normal people don't give a shit about Jim Kimmel, while his besties Stevie Colbert and Howie Stern beg him to stay. But this time, Jim is tightening the cheeks on his bruised caboose, and he is refusing to talk about his bleak future. I don't want to talk about the future. I always say I'm retiring, then I never do. It really upsets my staff. It hurts their feelings, so I don't want to talk about it. You know why Jim Kimmel doesn't want to talk about his future? Because for the first time, Jim Kimmel realizes he doesn't have any leverage. He realizes that he needs ABC more than they need him. Think about it. His bestie, Stevie Colbert, fired. And Stevie was fired while having the most watched show in late night on broadcast television. If Stephen Colbert was losing $40 million every year, then I would assume that Jim Kimmel is losing 50, maybe 60 million. Matter of fact, Jim Kimmel discussed his show being too expensive to produce. When you're generating millions in profit, expenses, not really a concern. But when you're losing tens of millions, all of a sudden, expenses are magnified. I think Jim Kimmel knows he is lucky to have a job. And he knows by this time next year, he is likely to be unemployed. Thing with Jim Kimmel, he was given the opportunity to save his career. Stevie Colbert, he didn't get this opportunity. Stevie was fired, and with CBS under new leadership with Bari Weiss, who is more of a moderate instead of a radicalized lunatic, Stephen Colbert does not have a chance to keep his job at CBS. But Jim Kimmel was given the opportunity. Jim was given the chance to save his career. After being temporarily fired, ABC brought him back, and he had one night where the eyes of America were on him. One night to prove he was willing to change. One night to capture the attention and keep it from normal people. What did Jim Kimmel do with this opportunity? He fucked it up. And like I've told you guys before, I think fear was the main reason that Jim Kimmel destroyed the opportunity to save his career. His career was destroyed because he could not conquer his fear. I think Jim Kimmel is terrified of the radicals in the Democratic Party. And look. He is not the only one that's terrified. There was a report released earlier this week talking about the government shutdown. Supposedly, the Democrats are waiting until after the No Kings protest next weekend to agree to bring back the government. Casey, what the hell is the No Kings protest? It's another gathering of wanker spankers who are afraid of showers. They come together along with their grotesque stench, and they pollute the air of major cities with their toxic smell. While normal people are watching college football, the spankers, they are trying to get their attention by defecating on the sidewalk. All kidding aside, the reason the Democrats are waiting until after the protest is because they're afraid of their radical base. They're afraid the radicals will accuse them of being soft on the Trumper for having the audacity to make a deal with him. I guess they're afraid they will riot, so they're waiting until after the protest to make a deal. I know some of you guys disagree with me, but I think Jim Kimmel has the same fear. Actually, I think there are a lot of Democrats who are terrified of the movement that they created. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.